Hi, this is SJ Talks Life coming back at you with another video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, please, and thank you. Do we really know what we want? Do we really know what we want? I was meditating, I was watching something. I watch a lot of YouTube because it gives me video ideas. And I was watching something. Oh, I was watching somebody's channel because different channels pop up in my recommendations. I can't remember the name of the channel, but they play TikToks. They play TikToks, and they played a bunch of TikToks with people saying, women saying that they hated marriage. They absolutely hated marriage. There's a bunch of TikToks they played where women were talking about they hated marriage. They hated being married. And then I was reading the comments. The comments in the comments section was very interesting, and they were talking about the women were coming sounding off in the comment section saying that they hated marriage. Some of them said they were married and it was a horrible experience. Some ladies were saying that they're not never getting married or whatever. So the comment section on that was really really interesting, and so it just prompted me to I was got to thinking and I got to marinating. I was like, I said, and I got to thinking about myself, and I got to thinking about how at one time I wanted to be married, and now I don't really have a desire at this stage in my life to marry. Um, Lots of women are coming to decision to, and some men. There's men that are coming to the decision too to remain single. So lots of women are and not just older women, but women of all ages are making the decision to remain single. And so I just got to thinking. I said, like these women are saying that they hated marriage, and then I thought about all the reasons. Like some woman came in there and said that she used to want to get married for the wedding and having a wedding and wearing a dress and flowers and all that kind of stuff, just for the and lots of women want to get married for that reason. Believe it or not, I tell you, once you get as a woman, once you get to a place where you get out of fantasy land, you are okay. Once women get past the fantasy phase, once you get past that fantasy, you're okay. You start seeing life for what it really is. Start thinking in terms more realistically. And I think lots of women have that mindset. Lots of women have that mindset that I don't know if I ever had the mindset that that I wanted to get married just for a wedding. Because even when I wanted to marry, I would say in my 30s, maybe when I was in my 30s, and I wanted to get married, I decided we can just go to the Justice of Peace, I ain't gonna have no big wedding, so it was never really for the wedding. But some women, they want to have a big wedding and the dress and cake and all this stuff, and then don't understand that that's just one day. The wedding is just one day. That's the first day of the rest of that is the first day of the rest of your life. Getting married and having a baby is two life altering events. And so that is the first day of the rest of your life. And so I just got to thinking, you know, um, do we really know what we want? Do we really know what we want? That's what I got to thinking. And then I thought about it, just popped in my mind. I thought about that scene, and you ever seen that movie? Man, what's the name of it? Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman and Jim Carrey was in it. I can't think of the name of it right now. Jim Carrey was in it, and Morgan Freeman played God. And he asked him in the movie, since when does people know what they want? That's for some reason that popped up into my mind. And when I was thinking about that, I said, that's a good video topic. Do we really know what we want? Good question. Do we really know what we want? Or do we really, when it comes down to it, we don't really know what we want. We might think we want something. Sometimes we think we want something. Because I always say everything in life is not what it's cracked up to be. Everything, there's pros and cons to everything, and life is not what it's cracked up to be. Life ain't even what it's cracked to be. And lots of things in life, because I remember back to, and I got to thinking back to, because when I think of a video topic, I have to think about, because I don't write things, I just write the topic down. But so I have to start thinking about, okay, points of points that I want to make in the video. And so I got to thinking back to when I tried to buy this house. I tried to buy this house. I was living in an apartment. I was living at this apartment complex. And I was living in an apartment. At the time, it was just me and my oldest son. This was before my youngest son was born. And I really wanted a house. I really wanted a house because I lived in apartments for a long time and I was over it. I was over living in apartments. And I really, really wanted to get a house. And people would say, well, having a house is a lot of responsibility. And I say, well, I'm ready for it. I say, I'm ready for it. And so I tried to get this house. And now I'm glad that I didn't get that house in this neighborhood that I was going to get this house in. I'm so happy that I didn't get that guy. That didn't work out for a reason. Um, because now that neighborhood is rough. That neighborhood is rough. But this was back in 1999. The neighborhood wasn't that bad at the time. And so I was going to get this little 2-bedroom bungalow. Well, it was downstairs and upstairs. The bedrooms were upstairs. And it had a living room, dining room, and kitchen. Well, I really kind of fell in love with the house. I got hooked up with a realtor, and I really fell in love with the house because it had stucco, it had stucco on the outside of it. And it had a cute little porch. I love a house with a cute porch. I love a house with a porch. And it had a porch. It was a 2-bedroom house. The 2 bedrooms were upstairs. And it was a living room, dining room, and kitchen. I kind of fell in love with the little house. And I paid this guy $250 to go through the house. Because before you buy a house, you have to pay an inspector to go. Because I had already got pre-approved for the mortgage. I got pre-approved for the mortgage. My credit was, I had to clean up some stuff on my credit, and then I got pre-approved for the mortgage. So I was already pre-approved for the mortgage, and so I paid the inspector $250 to go through the whole house. And it was some updates to the house and everything. And then the FHA wanted me to do work to the house before I even moved in it. It was a few minor things that needed to be fixed on the house. And they wanted me to go in and do stuff to the house before I moved into it, or before I bought it. Okay. And before the deal was sealed. And I'm like, that don't even make no sense. And I said, I don't have that. I didn't have the money. And then I was going to try to so it was a program in my city at the time to help with down payment assistance. I had some of the down payment money, but I needed a little help. And the owner would not, but it was the one catch is that they needed to do their own inspection. Well, the owner of the house wouldn't let them inspect the house. So between those two things, I decided to just bail out, bail out. I signed a bunch of papers and all that kind of stuff, and I was so upset. I cried. I cried. I was so upset. I was just so upset, and I remember being so upset. I just bawled my eyes out. I was crying. I was crying my eyes out, and At the time, I was living in this apartment complex, and I was staying in a 2 bedroom apartment. And so I went and told the manager that I wanted a townhouse, because at the time I was on Section 8, and it was just me and my son. So Section 8, if you don't understand how Section 8 works, you only get so much money according to your family size. So I wasn't able to get the townhouse because it was only two of us. So I gave up my Section 8, and I told the lady, the apartment manager, that I wanted to move into a townhouse, a 2 bedroom townhouse, and I got on their subsidy. So that's what I did. I went and got the townhouse. You know, it had a basement, and it's the cutest townhouse. It was so unique. It had stairs going. It's that you came in the door, and then there were stairs. There were stairs going upstairs. The bedrooms were upstairs, and then the living room, and then it had some stairs going down into the living room. That was fun going up all those stairs when I was pregnant. But they had some stairs going down into the living room and dining room. The living room and dining room, you had to go down some little set of stairs to go down into the living room, dining room, and then it had patio doors. And the kitchen was like upstairs. Like as soon as you come in the door, there was the stairway going upstairs, and then off to the left it was the kitchen. And then it had the little stairway going down into the dining room, living room. I just made it one big living room, and then later on made it part of it my office. And then it had a little basement. So I liked it. I liked it. My townhouse, it was nice. And then I came to the conclusion. I said, well, maybe it's just not time yet. I said maybe it's just not time. Maybe I just need to be a little bit more patient. And I said I'll just get this townhouse in the meantime until I can figure out how I'm gonna get a house. And I prayed about it, and I said, well, I came to the conclusion it's just not time yet. And I said I just needed to be a little bit more patient. Sure enough, 2 years later, I was able to get into this house. I was able to get into this house that I'm in now. And um, so when I got into this house, I've had to do so much. I've had to, over the years, I've had to do quite a bit to this house over the years, and furnace repairs and replace doors, and I've had to do quite a bit over the um, few years that I've been in this house, and it need work done on it now. And so, anywho, with that being said, people would rewind back to when people was saying a house was a big responsibility. And then I said, I'm ready for it. I mean, there was times where I was like ready to throw in the towel. There was times I was like, well, I think I don't know if I can handle this responsibility. I don't know if I can handle being in the house, you know. And so I didn't realize how much a responsibility it's a lot of responsibility. Oh, I'm ready for it. and the reality was I wasn't ready for it. And then when I got into this house, I realized that it was a lot of work. It's a lot of work maintaining and keeping up a house. Being a homeowner, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And so, um, needless to say, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll take a house over an apartment, but um, it's a lot of responsibility. It's more responsibility than what I thought it was. And so, what I'm trying to say is, with that, telling that story, is that sometimes things look better looking from the outside in. Sometimes things look better looking from the outside in, and then when we don't realize how much of a challenge it's going to be until if we actually get that marriage mate, or you get that great job. You thought I want to get this great job or this great career, and then you get into the career and it ain't what you thought it was going to be. Then you got to get into that. You get into that career and that job, then you realize you got to deal with a bunch of challenges when you get into this job. And then some people be like, well, we figure out years later they ready to bounce. Like sometimes I start a job and in the beginning I like the job, but then 2 years down the road, I'm ready to bounce. I don't like this job no more. I hate this job now for whatever reason. Just want to do something different, getting tired of doing the same thing. Uh, Issues with staff, issues with management. Um, uh, just be ready to leave. But in the beginning, oh, this is cool. This is straight. And this 2 years down the road, you're like, oh, I'm ready to bounce. I'm ready to go. So at the end of the day, we don't really know what we want. We may think we want something, but then when we get into it, you like think you want to get married. Lots of people thought they wanted to get married. And then once they got married, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. You know, they had to face a lot of challenges. And they're like, oh, I hate being married. I don't want to be married anymore. Because lots of married people, there's lots of married people that want to be single. And there's single people that want to be married, but there's more single people that don't want to be married. But there's lots of married people that are already married. And that's not to say I'm not knocking marriage. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking marriage. Marriage could be a beautiful thing with the right person. But even with the right person, it has its challenges. I'm not trying to knock marriages, but what the point that I'm trying to make is that we think we want something. We might think we want something, but then we realize we don't really want it. We either really don't want it after all, or we didn't realize how hard it was going to be. We didn't realize how much of a challenge it was going to be to get this thing. And sometimes it's a price to pay when we get it. It's like fame. Like some of these celebrities was interviewed and they was like, didn't realize that fame was. They say, oh, I really wanted to, be a singer or actor or whatever, and they got in there and get in there and wow, and realize how overwhelming fame is and how hard it is, and the things that comes with it. See, they didn't realize all that going in, you know, and so they kind of get halfway through it and they're like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know about this life here, you know. So sometimes we might think we want something and then we get into it just like me wanting a house really bad, and then now that I actually got a house, realizing all the challenges that come with having a house, and there is a lots of challenges that come with having a house. I've learned so many things throughout the year. One time I went a whole year, my furnace went out on me and I couldn't afford to fix it, get it fixed. I went a whole entire year. I went through a whole winter with no furnace. With no heat. So I had to use space heaters to heat up the house, you know? So I've had many challenges over the years being in the house. Like I say, at the end of the day, I'll still take a house over an apartment, but realize that having having a house, an apartment, you got your pros and your cons, and I realized that having a house wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. It's going to be as easy as I thought. When people were saying, "Well, having a house is a lot of responsibility," and I'd be like, "Well, I'm ready for it." Now that I'm in it, and I was like, there was times I did contemplate moving, but I was like, no, I'm too far in now. But yeah, but I love my. At the end of the day, I love my house. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to be in my house, and I love it. But it is a huge responsibility. People that were telling me that were absolutely right. It is a huge responsibility. Let me know in the comment section if you're a homeowner and how types of challenges that you had to face being in your house. Um, yeah, it's a huge responsibility. A bigger responsibility than what I thought it was going to be. But that's what I'm saying. We may think we want something. We might think we want that marriage. And like I say, I wanted to get married, but then now that reality has set in and I'm out of fantasy land, I'm realizing the challenges that marriage that you can that marriage entails. And then you start to think that, okay, do I want to sign up for this, and stuff like that. And so everything is just not what it's cracked up to be. And sometimes, like I say, we think we want something, but then we get into it. We think we want that job, but then we get into it and we realize it ain't what we thought it was gonna be. The management is jacked up. You don't like your coworkers or the work. Sometimes I would just get bored with the work and not wanting to do that type of work anymore, and just want to just be ready to make a change. Just want to change and go move on and do something else. You realize that, oh, this is I hate this job anymore. you know? Hit me up in the comment section if you guys ever thought about that. Yeah, oh, this is why I just always wanted to get this job. Oh, you're so excited in the beginning. And then a couple years down the road, I hate this job. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to bounce. So, well, if you're working on a job and the management is bad, the management is everything. Management is everything. A company, I always say, a company is only as good as their management. A company is only as good as their management. If a company has bad management, it just makes for an overall horrible work experience. It really ruins, even if you like the job, it just going to ruin your whole work experience if the management's bad. You know, I've had many jobs, and that's what I've learned in my work years over the years working in various different jobs. The management is bad. It just kind of ruins your whole experience. Even if you kind of like the work, it just really ruins your whole perception of the job and just the whole experience. It just ruins the whole work experience. So a company is only as good as their management and their pay and their benefits. Because sometimes if the money ain't long and they ain't giving them raises like they supposed to, that'll make you want to bounce too. And so that's what I'm saying. It's things always look better. Don't things always look better looking from the outside in? When we look at the outside in, things always look so much better. Things always look so good. You get this fantasy going in your head, this fantasy swirling around in your head, and and of course, life is not a fantasy. And so we want something, but at the end of the day, we really don't want it. Let me know. Hit me up in the comments section if you went into something when you first went into it, you was excited, you said, oh, this is what I've always wanted, whether it was a material item or a car or a house or a job or a marriage or even having a child. Even having a child. Some people, I always say, and I did a video about this a while back. I always say, don't say I want a child. Ask yourself, does the child want me? See, people need to flip flop that question. Flip flop the question around. Does the child want me as a parent? That's what you need to be asking yourself. You don't say, but people got it twisted. I want a child. What do you mean you want a child? Because once that child gets here, it ain't about you anymore, baby. It ain't about you no more. It's not about you. It's gonna be about that child. So you ask yourself, it's once the child gets here, it ain't gonna be about what you want. Okay. So once the child gets here, you have to you what you really have to ask yourself is, does the child want me as a parent? Do I qualify? What kind of qualifications do I have to be a good parent? Is my finances in order? Do I have a good marriage made? Am I making six figures? Or are we making six figures? Am I really ready emotionally and mentally ready to bring in another life into the world? There's a lot to think about. Having a child is a bigger commitment than getting married. And lots of people don't even think about it because, you know, people have sex for pleasure. And so when people do the things that can cause a child, can create a child, lots of people don't think about that, including myself. Lots of people don't think about that beforehand, before they have relations. Before you have relations, people don't think about that. But having a child is a lot bigger commitment than getting married. Because if you get married, well, you can get a divorce. Doesn't mean you have scriptural grounds. People have scriptural grounds all the time, but people get divorced. It happens every day. But you can't divorce your kids. You can't divorce your kid. Because I told my youngest son, I was joking around with him. I said, Edmund, I want a divorce. I was just joking. You can't divorce your kids. Now you can say, well, I'm a some people call themselves trying to disown their kids or something. That child is always gonna be in your heart. You can try to disown them all you want. They're gonna always be in your mind. They're gonna always be in your heart. That child is in here and up here. They're never gonna leave up here. They're never gonna leave here. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. You can't divorce your technically you can never divorce your child. It's a huge commitment. And too many people lay down and don't think about that beforehand. I think if more people gave it more of a serious thought, there will be less unplanned pregnancies. But so you have to ask yourself, because being a parent ain't what it's cracked up to be, especially being a single parent. See, being a single parent is rough. Being a married parent is rough. Being a single parent is rough. And sometimes folks be married single parents. So having a child is a tremendous responsibility, and lots of people don't. They think, oh, when all they can think about is, I want a baby. Oh, well, you want a baby? Okay, it's only a baby for a couple of years. Yeah, it's only a baby for a couple of years. Then that baby grows into a child. Then they grow into a young adult. No, they grow into a child. Then they grow into a teenager. Then they grow into a young adult. You know, parenting never ends. It don't end at 18. It don't stop at 18, because when that child needs something, guess who they gonna hit you? They always hitting mama. They ain't trying to go to daddy. Because I used to tell my oldest son, why you always bugging me? You got another parent. And he'd say, Mom, Dad don't help me. Dad don't look out for me like you do. So yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's always gonna be mama. They gonna be leaning on. They always gonna be leaning on mama. You know what I mean? So people looking on the outside in, they think, oh, having a baby, this cute little baby. Well, that cute little baby's gonna grow up. That's why you need to ask yourself, does this child want me? And then when they get to be an adult, You better hope and pray to God that you was a good parent and you was a decent parent, because they're gonna let you know if you wasn't. It's gonna manifest. They're gonna let you know if you wasn't. So just be careful. That saying goes, be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for. Because when you get it, it ain't going to be the way you thought it was going to be. It ain't never going to be the way you think it is in your mind. And the way you image and have this image and fantasy in your mind, it ain't 9 times out of 10, it ain't going to be like that. So be careful. We got to be careful what we ask for. You have to be really careful what we ask for. Some of these ladies be like, I want me a rich man. I want me a rich man. And then they get a rich man. They put that out there in the universe. And then they get that rich man. That thing is controlling. That thing is controlling. He controlling you. He's shortening his hands. He abusive. That thing is abusive. He cheat. That thing is cheating on you. But no, didn't you say you want a rich man? So you gotta be careful, ladies. Gotta be careful. These men saying, yeah, I want me a fine honey. I want me a fine woman. I want her to have a fine body, a nice booty. I want her to have long, beautiful, natural hair. I want her to have all her natural hair. They got a whole image in their mind what they want the woman to look like. Then they meet that beautiful woman. And they're like, oh, she's so beautiful. This is what I've always wanted. And then they marry that beautiful woman. And then they find out she's something else. She's something else. I forgot to check her personality. I was so busy looking at her beauty. I was so busy mesmerized by her beauty. I forgot to check her personality. Turns out she's a horrible person. She won't cook for you. She won't cook. She won't clean. All she want to do is shop. And then she cheats on you on top of that. I'm just creating a scenario. So be careful what you ask for. Everything is not what it's cracked up to be. I'm just rambling on. Anywho, hit me up in that comment section. Let me know if you job, house, marriage, whatever it was that you thought you wanted, and then you got into it, and then you realized, I don't want this. I hate this. Hit me up. At the end of the day, we gotta wait on God. I'll sum it up with that. We got to wait on God, because when things happen in God's timing, and you still gonna, even if it's in God's timing, you still gonna have some challenges, because that's life. It's called life. So hit me up in that comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like, subscribe, and share. Until the next video, you guys will be blessed.